Hello, I'm Emilio Santini. Again, I think you're gonna get tired to see me on those videos. We're here at Corning again to do a live stream video. And this time, instead of making just a piece as a show-off piece, we decided, me and my assistant Katti, we decided to do a demo. So from step one, how you pull the point, how you straighten up the point, to all the way to a finished object. So I'm going to make the first part, and I'm going to show you how to pull the point and how to straighten up. Then she's going to take over and show you how to do with the 9mm tubing. Katti comes from a background of scientific glassblower. She was a graduate from Salem Community College, and so she's much better than me in using those techniques. And you can use those techniques to make the goblets as much as you can use mine. I come more from the school of glass blowing from furnace work, and I learned from my father. So without further ado, let's get going. You will also see the difference how she sets up her torch. When I work, I set up my torch just slightly leaning. When she works much more vertical. But besides that, things are much more similar between her and me. So, start with the tubing. I'm using Conturax today, just because it's more showy, but it's also much nicer to work with. Conturax got all ribs inside, and the ribs allows you to blow the bubble. They behave also like, sort of like as a strut, and they allow you to blow the bubble a little bit more straight, particularly when you are a beginner, although it's a little bit more expensive. All right. So I usually work 3 or 4 inches away from the tip of the torch because there is much less intense heat. The flame is much softer up here and a little bit wider. In this particular case, I'm using a Carlisle torch. It's the workhorse of many glass blower or lamp worker. You can take a hammer and smash it with the hammer. It's still gonna work compared with other torches. Okay, so let's go in. I am right-handed, so I use my right hand for the tools and for shaping the glass. And my left hand is the hand that holds the rod, or in this case, the tubing. My left hand works holding the glass on the top because it's much easier to rotate my left hand. My right hand is just a support at the beginning when I pull the point. The way that I hold it, I put my hand, I create a hook with my hand, as I told you the other day, and then I put the tubing in there, and the thumb and the index are the one that imprint most of the rotation. The other two help the rotation, and the pinky pushes against the palm so the tubing doesn't wiggle too much. All right? So let's go and fold the elbow. You know, your elbow, the wrist, sorry. Correct my English, I'm not American. Fold the wrist and go in the flame, all right? So normally what you do before you do anything, you check that the first point is already straight, because if the first point is not straight and you start rotating, this part here rotates like a camshaft, in and out, in and out. So your goal is to get every single point of the circumference hot with the same amount of heat. So when you pull the point or extrude the point later on, the point hopefully is going to be perfectly centered. Right? Otherwise, if there is one hot spot, the point is not going to come center. All right. So to check if the point is centered, the first point, I usually do it horizontally. But if you're not very, if your eyes are not trained enough, it's easier if you do it vertically. And you will see much easily if the point is off. In this case, it's almost straight, but if I take the other one up, you can see that it's off a little bit this way, but if you hold it, I'm sorry, if you hold it vertically, you can really see how much off it is. So every time you want to check, it's much easier vertically. I work all on horizontal plane. I pull my point all horizontal. Some people put them vertical. Nothing against it, but it's much easier to adjust it when you pull it. And it's much better if you learn to pull the point and to do everything on horizontal plane. And I will tell you later when I blow the bubble for the cup or the foot, right? So go in the flame. I'm gonna pull 2 gather of glass, means 4 points. One is gonna be for my foot of the cup, and the other one is gonna be for the ball. Thank you, for the ball. So how do I hold it? Do I hold it 90 degrees and parallel to the floor, or do I angle it? It depends. If I have to have a much longer section of glass melted because I want to have a longer point, I hold it slightly at an angle, and I can also go a little bit on the left, a little bit on the right, a little bit on the left, a little bit on the right. I get a much longer gather of glass hot, so when I stretch, the point can be long enough and thick enough, because if the point is not thick enough, you always have the risk that it's going to break when you have it in your mouth or you're trying to change in the shape of the glass. Okay. How do I turn? I turn away from me in this case, but you can turn toward yourself, or you can go back and forth. So there are all these schools that you can use any of those 3 methods. There is no really one method better than the other one. Right? So let's try to do it. So at the very beginning, my right hand is just a support. Then when the glass gets hot, I start rotating with my right hand. When it's starting getting smaller in diameter, you come out and start rotating. In this case, I go back and forth because it's easier for me. And I look at the point there and there, in those 2 points. Why? Because while I'm stretching, with this very, very small movement, I can correct it, pushing up or pulling down, the little bit off center. Right? And there you are, you got the point. The point in this case is not perfect. Not a single point that I pull are perfect because I'm not a machine. They always have to be readjusted later on before I start blowing. So let's pull another one so you can see again. And I can use the next one for the foot. So let's check if it is straight. It's more or less straight, but not perfectly straight. So how do I straighten up a point? That's a very important thing to do, to learn. You have to heat up, if we call this the shoulder, you have to heat up just the area just past below the shoulder, this area here. But you don't apply the flame directly there. As I said yesterday, if you lower the flame down to this amount, then you can heat up that area. But since most of the time I'm doing production objects, or I don't want to lose time to lower the flame, I want to use this same flame that I used before to put the point. So how do I do it? How do I get around? Because if I heat up over here, it's too thin on the right. Where the point is, and it will melt too fast. So the way that I get around it is I apply the flame exactly on the shoulder, and the baffle of the flame and F of the flame goes to the right and heats up this area first because it's thinner in diameter. You will see how it works. And I get it hot enough, just barely glowing, that it starts moving like this. It's barely glowing. You can barely see it. So how do I adjust it? I adjust it just pushing down gently, like I'm exaggerating the movement, so you can see how I adjust it. But it's a very subtle movement to adjust it. It's very important when you adjust the point, you don't stretch. Because if you stretch, this area here becomes too thin, and then when you go in the flame, to melt the center gather, some heat goes there, and if it is stretched and thinner, then melts faster, and everything starts moving, and you lose control, and you blow off center. Okay? Is it clear so far? All right. So let's adjust it a little bit. There you are. Then if you want to double check, as I said yesterday, no. With practice, you learn to do it horizontally. But if you are learning, it's better to check it vertically. And you can see that it's almost perfectly straight. All right? So this is the way that I normally do it. Now, Katti come here. Katti does it slightly different. When she works, coming from the school of scientific glassblowing, she uses point as well, but she also learned how to use 9mm tubing, right? Mm-hmm. And so now she's gonna show you how to attach a 9mm tubing at the end of a wider tubing and use that as a point or instead of the point. So please.
All right. So I have a piece of somewhere around 32mm tubing. It's maybe medium wall. It's easier to use heavy wall, but I'm actually going to attach it to a piece of 12mm heavy as well, since it's a little bit thinner than I usually use. Right now I'm warming out the tube. Sometimes if you stick a jagged edge like that directly in the flame, things will pop on you and you'll lose a good amount of usable material. So I'm heating just in on the tube because I need to remove the jagged edge. And all I'm going to do is use my tweezers, come in and tear it off. I'm going to take a piece of 7mm rod.
Can I say something?
Thicken up my tubing end a little bit. And I'm going to leave that nipple on the end for just a little bit. Having a thicker end helps with making the seal. So you're not working with something incredibly thin, having it flop around on you.
Did you notice that when she lowered the gas on the outer flame, she leaves the oxygen on, so she can do everything with one maneuvering, and it's well, she can explain to you why.
I like to leave the outer oxygen on, just to get this one small point hot really quick. Sometimes when you're using a smaller inner fire, if I turn the outer off, I don't have as much heat and things splash around a little bit more. It's not as focused as I would like it. So I'm just blowing out that nipple a little bit, making myself an edge to actually seal my tube onto. I'm blowing it out thin, but I'm not popping that bubble. Now I have just around a 10mm hole to attach my 12mm rod to. Is there
what do you need?
Little graphite rod anywhere?
Yes. Do you have a graphite reamer?
Yeah, just a little carbon something.
Yeah, thank you.
Fantastic, thank you. I'm just thickening up that connection a little bit. And widening it back out. I'll set that down for a second. I'm not really flaring my 12mm. I'm just doing the same thing, thickening up the edge. Just a little bit. All right. No. I'm heating up mostly the shoulder of the larger diameter tubing because I'm going to need to puff out that whole edge to make the connection straight enough to make a cup or bottle or anything out of it. I'm only heating up the 12 millimeter very, very slightly. Now I'm heating both of the tips, bringing it out of the flame to connect it, leaving it together for a second to let everything flow, and slowly bringing it out. Just giving it a little puff.
She's capping the hole on the other side, on the small tube, while she was blowing.
You can use an earplug or a cork if you don't want to use your fingers. But you gotta stop the air. I'm still using the larger flame, but I'm trying to focus the heat a little bit more on just that shoulder.
So why don't you show them how to make a little bottle with it? So
Start making a little ball?
a little bottle,
Okay.
a little vase. So you can see, because right now you saw up to this point, but then how do you proceed compared to what you have seen from me up until now? So it's nice if you see how she proceeds having that kind of tubing and that kind of setup. And then we go back to mine.
All right, so you want me to go ahead and make the bottle
Yeah, make
now?
the little bottle like we said.
All right.
Not big, a small one, so they can see how to proceed from there.
So what I usually do is I'll go and decide how much tubing I actually want. And from here you can either pull a point on this, or if you have a V-marver or a V-tool, you can go and cut into it. Make yourself a nice little hole to connect to. Today, I'm just going to tear it off and round bottom both sections. So I have a nice little butt at the end. Oh, this is nicer.
See, she's always switching to the left hand, always to the left hand. The right hand again is the hand of the tool, the hand that you're shaping the glass with. And that's my second point would be, but in your case, is a solid rod, right?
Yes, yes. Yeah. How you use the
Yeah,
the
it would
points.
be the equivalent for me of having the 2 point. You have a tube on one side and a rod on the other side, but it's basically the equivalent.
Yeah, having a holder for making any sort of hollow form is rather nice. Right now, all I'm doing is making that connection solid, so that I have a nice straight enough kind of connection. And then I'm going to come back to the top, slowly bring it up into the flame, and I'm going to start forming the neck of a bottle. I'm not going to be pushing or pulling. I'm just letting the glass fall on itself to a smaller diameter. And you want to be aware that both of your handles are different sizes. Instead of if you would have used a point, they'd be similar. So you have to be aware of when the glass is twisting. You're going to have to spin one hand faster than the other. And that's all stuff that you'll see when you actually get on your bench.
So how many years did you study at the Salem Community College?
I was there for about 3 years.
Okay.
I started in art and wanted a little bit more technical focus, so I switched to the scientific.
With Dennis Brennan?
Yep, with Mr. Dennis Brining.
Brennan.
They have, I think 2 or 3 different classes over there now. They handle a lot more students than when I was there.
Nice.
I was one of 20 people in my class to begin with, and I think we ended up with 10 kids the second year.
Lost them along
Yeah.
the way.
And we lost quite a few of them, but
Yeah. Good.
the people that are really into it
Yeah.
for glass
Yeah.
are the ones that stay.
Yeah.
So right now, I am just pushing a Maria to the very top of the bottle. It's just a solid Maria. Take it out of the flame to really shape it. Just wiggling things around slowly to keep everything straight. Coming into the marver just to flatten the top. And then the glass cooled a little bit too much on the bottom of it, so I'm going in and blasting out all the cold marks. I'm just wiggling everything back straight again. The straight, when you're working with manufactured handles, is a little bit different to find.
Mm-hmm.
But just like with points, you kind of feel what's straight. So I need actually a little bit softer of a heat to go in and form the shoulder. It's going to turn into kind of an amphora shape. And because it's thinner, you don't really need a lot of heat. But for your initial push and pull, it's nice to let it start soaking in evenly. I choose to blow into my pieces towards the ground vertically, just because that's what I'm tuned to. You can bring them out straight like this, if that works for you.
We're not going to hold it against you, don't worry.
100 ways to do anything. I always
there
say
are
it's
different
what
as
feels
long as
right.
as long as the result is good and is the same. I mean, you can use a different technique from me.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I wanted you to show them this thing, because it's a different technique, but you achieve the same result. So it makes sense that they get exposed to everything.
All right, and now I'm just going in lightly and pulling a little bit to create the very bottom of that amphora shape. You tear it off from the punty. So I like to make a really thick bottom. I usually cold work the bottoms of these just to ensure that they're
I want
flat.
to borrow the.
But for today,
Sorry. Thank you.
fantastic. And sometimes you end up with a little nipple on the inside of the jar. That's okay. I like to give it a puff just to be sure that the inside edge is round before the final flattening. And then I can come in with the punty. I'm going to flash the very top of it.
It is Pyrex, but it's very thick on the top. And if she doesn't flash it, it goes straight in the flame, it's going to crack. So that's why she's reheating it very gently.
And you want to do that before you put your punty on, because you're going to go directly back to that spot after you get your punty. So let's do that one more time. Try and make it straight.
It's all right.
But you're just taking off the top. You're not doing a flare or anything fancy, so. Oh, that's all right.
That's all right. It's a demo.
Yeah. And simply from there.
Don't worry.
It cracked a little bit. We should have flame and nailed it out a little bit more, and that's okay. It's traveling, so this piece won't make it. I'll just show you how I get the top off real quick.
Yeah.
I've created a vacuum, which is how I go and finish these pieces. So I heat up the mass of the belly of the amphora, just to build up air pressure. And then you see when I come back to the tip, it'll actually just pop right out for me.
There you are.
Go in.
She basically heated up the body of the glass so the gases inside expands, then softens the front, the gas inside that expands and they push out and it pops by itself. You don't need to blow anything. And there is the piece.
Yep.
Okay?
Go in.
And then you fix the bottom.
Pretty nice punny, so
Yeah.
it's not too much.
Perfect. Okay.
There you go.
So, and then you got that. Now we're gonna go back to the, you turn it off.
Aye.
There is no lighter now. Okay.
Oh.
So we go back to the point.
There
We
you
go back, thanks. Perfect. Excellent. Excellent demo.
Thank
We
you.
go back to the point. My point is the point. And I'm gonna make the cup. I'm gonna make the foot. And then Katti is gonna do the stem in the middle. There's gonna be spiral. So you see how to make a spiral, hollow spiral, and then we put everything together. So we got some scientific and Venetian all together. Okay? Do you have a glass cutter? Oh, there it is. So we're gonna go, yes, we have half an hour. So break it off. You have to fire polish it. Okay? And ask questions if you have questions. Don't be shy. Feel that you're on candid camera, so nobody's looking at you. Okay, you just everything is natural, normal. So what I'm gonna do, what I usually do on my bottles, on my bubbles, on my center gather before I start blowing, I create an indentation, a constriction on the right and on the left. I do exactly how furnace workers do. Furnace workers, before they start making their piece, they create a constriction and then they start blowing. Okay? On the other side, I don't need a constriction because it's the end of the bubble, but I need a constriction on both sides. So to make a constriction, you have there are 2 or 3 ways of doing it. There are some scientific, tell me if I'm wrong, some scientific glass blowers do it with a small flame, and then they constrict down just with the flame, not with the tool, right? Yeah, scientific glass blower and do the constriction just with the flame, not the tool. I usually do the tool because it's faster, and I don't have to be as precise as they are with their work. And I normally use there are 2 or 3 tools that you can use. You can use a V tool that you saw me using it. This actually belongs to Becky. Or you can use the side of your marver. Or in my case, in my house, I have a blade that sits horizontally here, and I roll against it. So either of them is fine as long as you achieve that. One of those 3 or 4 methods, include dessert, is fine. So I'm gonna heat it up, but before I constrict it with the tool, I'm gonna get the wall a little bit thicker. So constrict the wall and heat it up and let it sag down. So when I do that, it's not gonna fold on itself. It's got certain consistency. So I'm gonna try to hurry up. So it's gonna get a little bit smaller flame. Okay. And in doing that, I can readjust my point, because if my point is a little bit off, I can readjust it now. So you see that the diameter is getting smaller, but the wall thickness is getting thicker. Okay. Trying to keep it straight, let it cool down a little bit, then you go down and adjust the weight of the glass first. Don't press down, otherwise you're gonna have a flat spot or a square. And there you are. It's pretty easy and pretty quick. Okay? Pretty easy and pretty quick when you did it many times. Now, there is also another method that if you don't have any of those blades, you don't have any tools available, you can use the diamond shears that I forgot. Can I borrow yours? Thank you. Never use those. To see how they work. So you can use diamond shears to do it. And it's interesting to know the use of diamond shears or how to use diamond shears. That I'm gonna again, heat up this area, constrict it down with the heat, get a thicker wall. But all of this, without using my hands, I'm gonna have it directly on my diamond shears. Otherwise, if I have my hands, this is hot, constricted, let this go with the hand and grab with the diamond shears. This one falls down, gets off center. So starts from the beginning with the diamond shear. You put it where it balances, okay? And you can always adjust it when it gets hot. And this is another way of constricting. So let it cool down, let it shrink down, build a little bit thicker wall, see? And if I see that it's too hot, I go out of the flame, then come back in the flame, or I can move farther away, right? Nice and hot. Go down, support on the surface there, slide in, put it on the bottom blade, and then gently squeeze with uniform squeeze. Don't do this while you're squeezing, otherwise it's going to be square, okay? And there you are, and you got the second one, okay? It's pretty center. Right, now we're going to make we're going to blow a bubble, a sphere, or a slightly elongated sphere to create the cup. So then I'm going to make the foot, and then it's going to take over, make the stem, and we're going to put everything together. So you see from beginning all the way to the end. Now this gather of glass in the center is very long, so it doesn't fit in the flame. The flame is this diameter, this is so wide. So how do you do that? There are 2 or 3 methods of heating up the entire gather of glass. You can go from the left to the center, to the right, to the center, to the left, or you can go a little bit more than 45 degrees, starting exactly from this point, but no farther down. Otherwise, you don't want to put any heat there, otherwise it's going to move. The glass is going to get too soft and move. So you go this way, or you can go this method and mix it together, the two of them. How would you do it?
I usually switch, like you do a diagonal, just splash on both sides. I try and get my flame as big and soft as I can.
Yeah.
But you gotta dance with it, kind of thing.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Then in my case, this is Conturax. It's got the line. I'm gonna twist it. I'm gonna start twisting as soon as it starts getting soft, even while I'm heating it up. You see that? So one hand is gonna turn slightly faster than the other hand. See, it's already twisting a little bit. Okay? And I try not to stretch it. When you do this, you should be careful not to stretch the glass. Your tendency is to stretch, to separate your hands. See, it's already twisting. Look at the glass, if it is all in the same axis, and then start blowing. Oh, wrong side. Aha. Every now and then I do that. I blow from the wrong side. It's very nice that we did it today. Okay, so I apologize. Yeah, right. It's easier to solve the problem. You switch hands. All right, so sorry. So let me try to correct it. There you are. So when you work this way, when you twist, you always go a little bit off center. So what you do, you reheat it a little bit. You see it's a little bit off center down there. It was on the top, but I reheated. So what you do, you reheat it, let it sag in just a bit, just barely, and then blow it out again. Just barely. Okay, so let's do it. Just barely. There you are. Now, this is going to be the bottom of my cup. That's the top, so let's shape the bottom. And then move toward the top. Do we have enough time?
Oh, as quick as it seems like you're moving, it should be good.
Yes, I'm going to go
25.
quick then. Right? Right. Heat up the center, stretch it a little bit. To work a little bit faster. because time on this earth is limited, right?
We'll be fine.
All right. I'm gonna make a simple cup, nothing fancy. All right, now I'm gonna close the hole on the other side. Before I do that, I open the hole over here. Oops, sorry. See, when you rush, when you hurry up with glass, accidents start happening, and so I'm gonna make my first part of the avolio. Is the first disc that is closer to the bottom of the cup. Okay. And a slight angle. So I do my avolio in 2 steps. Other people do it in 1 step. No difference on that. Okay. Farting water. It's just.
Trying to figure out.
It's a pump. That,
When you do your avolio in 2 parts, is that just the way you like to do it?
That's because I was taught that way. But for instance, Cesare does it in 1 step. He has a rod that he rolls against it. So you can do it in 1 take or in 2 steps.
So whatever you're more comfortable with.
Well, yeah,
right?
yeah. Like you said, no, I learned this way to blow. Vertically, I learned to blow horizontally. So, and usually, if you do it in 1 step, you got the ponte over here and you roll on a rod like this. And when you roll on a rod like this, all the avolios are of the same curvature. So that's how you can get all the avolio identical. They're gonna become your trademark because they're all the same. So how to do it? Well, you got a rod of a certain dimension, you roll against it. Okay? Cesare does it most of the time vertically. He's got a rod attached on a base. I saw other people do it horizontally. So whatever is easier for you. Then I'm going to touch a ponte. And we're going to open the other side. And then quickly we're going to make the foot. Okay. It's a ponte that I try to fuse because I don't need to detach it like for a tumbler. Okay.
You'd rather have it stuck hot together than come off when you're opening the lip.
Right. It's safer. Okay. So let's break it off. Oh yeah, I can do it. Okay, very quickly. Hold it and hit it. There you are. I think it's better when I finish this, you make the spiral. And then we do the foot last.
A few pre-made ones.
So I'll heat it up vertically normally. Now I'm going to show you how to fix it because this is not going to come out perfectly even. So this is a good excuse to show you how to fix a cup if it doesn't come out even, okay? I use my parchoffi made out of graphite. No. Graphite is a natural lubricant. Okay, and since we want to play fancy, we're going to do a little extra touch so you can see what you can do with those jacks, those graphite jacks. We're going to push out one side like that. Okay. This is a demo. I'm not going to try to make a fancy piece. It's just to show you a different technique that can be used on your object. Okay? The graphite can also be applied on the outside jacks, and you can squeeze it this way if you want to, and get in error this way when it's already open. So you achieve this shape. But in doing all this, what did I do? I also screwed up that lip. So to fix the lip, instead of heating up only the lip, I'm going to heat up about a couple inches. So again, don't look at the shape. Just look at the technique that I use. And then I press this part that sticks out the most and then rotate. And in doing that, if you heat up this much glass and then press in, you distribute the unevenness in 2 inches instead of distributing it only in 1/4 of an inch. So the lip stays nice and thin, and you do exactly the same method that they use a furnace worker. That when they open their cup, they're opening their cup, they have somebody underneath with the paddle they push in, and so the unevenness gets distributed from the entire length of the cup instead of only on the lip. So I'm going to leave it this way, almost done, and we're going to pass it to, again, don't look at the funky shape. I just wanted to show you things that can be done, okay? Now I'm going to pass it to Katti, that she's going to do the stem, and then we're going to put the stem together with this top, and we're going to do the foot if we have time. Go ahead.
Sounds good.
Okay.
So I'm going to start my coil with about half a length of 9 by 2 millimeter rod.
The torch.
Yeah, I'll switch it up in a second. I attach a piece of 6 or 7 millimeter rod to the bottom of it, just to have that extra handle. I decide how long I want the coil to be, because it's going to have a rod sticking up in the center of it. And I heat up maybe 2 or 3 inches of glass. And I start only heating the outside. Kind of pinch it together, push it around a little bit to make a nice little U. After that, I'm actually going to come in and pop a little hole. Just so that in the finished piece, it doesn't turn into a vacuum when we're trying to do the rest of the seals.
I want to point it out something that is very important, that when she works, she doesn't have a blow hose. And you will see that when she makes the spiral, she's so good, because she learned a cell and doing those things, that even though the glass tubing is hot, when she bends it, the tubing barely collapses. Usually, when you're going to try today to do it, you will see that when you turn, the glass starts collapsing where it bends. She's so good that it barely collapses. And what she's doing now, it's even more difficult because she's going to make the spiral around the vertical axis. Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, you're good. The way you get the tubing to not collapse is by using really hardly any heat. It really doesn't take much to get things to move. And I'm only heating about 2 sides of the glass. I'm heating mainly the outside and then the very top. And when I talk about the top, I'm talking about the side closest to my rod. By heating just those 2 sides, I have enough elasticity, I guess?
Plasticity.
Yeah.
Plasticity.
Plasticity, there you go. But it gives you just enough to be able to move quite a bit of glass without warping it. You're always checking the angles, you're always checking the sides. Twisting the glass and kinking the glass is a real problem when you're doing freehand stuff like this. And by just slightly rotating your hand,
Okay.
you can fix those. You don't move it very much though, it's just very slight.
Now, don't only think spirals. What she's showing you, this technique can be applied to many other artistic creation. So this kind of bending. So don't just get your mind stuck on the spiral. Oh, I want to learn to. It's good to practice, learn to make the spiral, but apply that technique for other creation.
Mm-hmm. You can use this in rod. You can use this in larger diameter tubing. I really like doing freehand curls with this. When people are doing this in a production setting, actually trying to make glass coils, without the rod in the center, they'll use a carbon rod or a steel piece of rod. Mm-hmm. And they'll go in and actually wrap the glass around that to get a completely uniform sort of coil.
Is the steel rod slightly tapered?
Yep. Usually you want it machined to a, what is it, like a fraction of an inch smaller at the end, farthest away from your handle, so that your coil will come off nice and neat. Slide out. Yep.
Because if you have a cylinder and you build a coil around it, and then the glass, when it cools down, it shrinks a little bit, and then it stucks on the thing. So if it is slightly tapered, you can slide it out, okay?
And you can, if you're stuck with a piece of rod that isn't tapered, you can use things like powdered graphite or beeswax even to help get it off, but I recommend finding something tapered. So I'm just slowly fixing as I'm going.
It doesn't have to have all the same curve, the same angle.
Oh yeah.
It's an artistic spiral.
Mostly I'm bringing it closer to the center. When I'm going back and heating this part of the coil, it helps me make it tighter.
Yeah, you adjust it basically.
Mm-hmm. Say if it's getting a little bit too close, you just come up here, get it a little bit warm, and you go ahead and move it wherever you need it. Now to finish it off, I'm also going to attach a bridge to the very tail of this, so that when we go and attach the cup, things aren't wobbling all over the place. Because you only have that one bend at the very top that's really keeping things in place.
Do you understand what she means when I touch a bridge? A support, a bridge. Means she's going to bridge this end here over there. So when we heat up the top, if there is no bridge there, one of the two starts moving. But if there is a little bridge, it stays fixed in place. So when you put the top of the cup or anything else that you want to touch, the two pieces stays still, they don't move. So we call those bridges, bridging the glass.
All I'm doing. 'Cause I'm just
Excellent.
going to gather up a little tiny piece of that.
You're very quick and very precise.
Speedy, speedy.
That's very good. See what she's doing now? Watch. She's using the last piece of glass that she melted off to create a bridge to the other piece. So she's not adding anything basically. She's using all the same glass that she had there. And there you are.
If you don't ever have this extra little piece to go and attach something, my favorite diameter rod to do bridges with is actually 4 and 5 millimeter.
Good to know.
If you have to do something really hefty,
Yeah.
go ahead and use 6 and 7.
Also notice that she changed the flame to go very, very micro flame and fuse completely to everything together.
Yep, you really don't want, when you're doing bridges, you don't want any sharp spots in there because the piece no longer has the ability to move. Oh, you want
Yeah.
your little nubbin on the top.
Yeah.
It's right above the bridge, actually. Yep,
Yeah.
so it's kind of hidden behind everything, just for aesthetic novelty.
If you don't have that hole, when you go back and reheat everything, if you don't have the little hole, when you go back and reheat the stem, the gases inside would expand and then create a bubble, a blister that sticks out. But there, they can escape, and so you can work again on the spiral or reheating the spiral without any problem.
And see, when I was working on the bottle, I was using that vacuum to my advantage by popping out the hole.
Right.
And this matter of fact, it'll turn out to be more problematic than anything. I'm heating up a little bit of this bend just to get it warm enough to where when I stick this piece of glass to it, I can hold it right there for a second, pull it away, and everything's pretty well flowing together. I shouldn't really have to go back and heat that connection.
Make it a little bit flat. Just
You want
slightly,
flat?
yeah, just slightly flat.
Just to meet the volio kind of thing.
Yeah,
right?
correct. Yeah. And then we can save it inside there. And make a quick foot and put perfect. Well, there's no, I can straighten it up. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So why don't you hold this so the camera can see it? Yeah.
Which
For
camera?
him. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. I'll pop that in the kiln to keep it warm while he makes
Leave
his,
it on.
leave the flame
Don't
on for
turn
you.
it off.
All right, the good one is all the way on the
Great.
left side
Excellent.
for you.
So let me quickly make a foot and then we put everything together and we should be
Close to the mine.
just 5 minutes over. So let's very quickly make a foot and then put everything together. So I don't know how much time I have to explain, but this is a big one. So I'm going to cut this off in half.
Actually,
We're going to probably go over 5-10 minutes over, but it's worth seeing. So I'm going to make a smaller gather of glass because it's too big for the point for that cup. Okay. And again, I'm hurrying now. I'm hurrying out, and I shouldn't, because in glass, when you hurry up because you are in a hurry, usually accident happens. You should never hurry. Okay? Hurrying as in, come on, finish the piece. No, can't do that. Hurrying because you have to go fast in certain part of the working process, yes, but not because you have to. That's death in glass. So don't do that, okay? I don't know if you have the same ideas, the same way of thinking. You have to take your time, right? You too.
if you don't, it just causes stress in the workplace.
Yeah.
Things get weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to take that step back and actually take
Yeah.
that mode, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So I want to know something. Why are you wearing a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle t-shirt? Because it was the only shirt that was this morning?
Yep, it was the clean laundry.
I thought since you're on camera, I said, why is she wearing a Ninja Turtle?
I didn't walk in here knowing I was going to be on camera.
I know.
So maybe I'd represent Courtney otherwise.
I know. No, I thought it was the name of your company.
Oh, you thought it
The ninja company. So your studio is here in town?
Yep. I'm just up the street from the studio.
Excellent.
I've been working on my own for about a year now.
Wow. Good luck.
I appreciate it.
Okay, so I did the constriction, and now again I go back and reheat and blow a bubble, attach the Ponti, and then put everything together. So again, I start.
Until you're blowing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So when you make feet for lamp workers, we don't start before we open. How you set them up is not round, but lower, like an onion or Saturn. Okay. It's slightly different from furnace workers. And then what I do, I preset the curvature, the slope that the foot is going to have on the very top. And there you are. Now I'm going to close the top as I did before. Create a little avoglio. Okay. With the rod. Same process as before. First, the first disc. Okay. Try not to get a cold connection, a cold seal when you press it in. So you can reheat it to be sure that it's not there. This is going to take another 5 minutes, and we are done with the foot, and then put everything together. So we're still going to have some food, I hope, at the cafeteria. Okay. Now, if you don't like this angle here, it's straight, and you don't have the rod to roll in, what do? You can use your jacks and push it against the graphite side, and so you can create the curvature. Basically, I'm doing the same thing they do at the furnace. The furnace, they do this, and there's somebody in the front with the paddle, okay? Then, where is the thicker rod? Doesn't matter, I use this one. Then we're gonna Ponti this side. Very quickly. I have to do this. I thought I belonged to the slow movement, but I'm not. Right? There you are. Now, instead of using jacks, there are two methods to do it. You can use jacks, or you can open them with the flaring. I'm going to show you the flaring and how it's supposed to be done with the flaring. Okay? So let me cut it off first. There you are. Okay. So first I'm going to open the hole a little bit. Next summer I'm going to show you how to put lip wrap. We don't have the time. Okay. So when you do the flaring, commonly people that don't know what they're doing, they start flaring immediately from now. So getting a big flame and rotating immediately. What happens when you do that, this bubble here will get your foot this big and all crooked, because if there is a little bit of imperfection, if one section is thicker than the other one, with the centrifugal force, that section pulls out much more than the rest, right? So to avoid that, you start rotating slowly. So I'm going to go from this shape to this shape very slowly. Then boost more flame and then flare it just the last section. So you have to learn to rotate slowly, okay? So let's do it. So I'm opening just a little bit the beginning. There you are. And now I'm rotating slowly, okay? So I'm using the torch as a tool. And gently, gently open it slowly. And I can control it. If it is off center or if it is the lip is off, I can do this and gently, gently, slowly open it. Okay? See? I'm not turning very fast. If I accelerate it a little bit, it flares open. Okay? And I can adjust it by gravity, with gravity. There you are, I'm almost there. You see? I have a cup actually, see? Doing nothing, I have a cup. The lip is thick, but when I flare it, it thins out. Okay? Then I boost the flame when I get to this point and get more heat. And then start rotating a little bit faster, and you got your foot. Okay? And everything is under control, doing it this way. Okay? You hold it horizontal. If you hold it this way, it folds over. And this is the slope that I had pre-prepared. Now we're going to put everything together while this one is cooling down. Okay? So we disconnect this. Again, don't look at the shape. We're just showing technique today. Techniques. Correct my English, Katti.
Mine's not much better.
She correct my English.
Very good.
So 5 more minutes, or maybe 10. I clean off the remaining ponti. Okay. I usually put the foot on first. Usually, I like to put the foot on first. But in this case, I got it upside down. Or actually, I could have done the foot first. So we can do it this way, or we can do it this way. But in this case, we're going to do this first. Usually, I put the foot on.
Do you ever use claw grabbers when you're...
Yeah, actually, if you put that in the claws, I'll be... Come on this side. It's over here.
Are your claw grabbers over here?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. It's still warm, but doesn't matter.
All right.
And next summer, if we are still here, I'm going to show you how to put ponti on the feet. Ponti feet, okay? So let's try to make it straight.
Did the claws stretch around?
Huh? Yeah, open it with your hands. Oh yeah, just, yeah.
Okay. I usually do this stuff in my hand, so
Oh, okay.
not used to these. I was curious. All right.
Okay.
There you go. That'll
Oh,
be
thank
ready for
you.
when you're ready.
Perfect. Thank you, Katti.
I'll put it on the wood. Come chill next to you for a minute.
What did you say?
Oh, I'm just hanging out on this side now.
And thanks to Katti that she left a hole there, I can press in. Otherwise, I wouldn't have never been able to modify the shape of the very bottom. Okay? Save that one there. Thank you. Cut this off. Oops. A little bit tighter, sorry.
Okay.
Not a problem. There are two ways to put the feet together with the rest of the cup. You can do it horizontally or you can do it vertically. Vertically is easier because it's more difficult at the beginning when you're learning because it's more difficult to center. But you don't have to incur the risk that doing it horizontally, this glass, no matter how much careful you are rotating it, this glass here or this glass here goes off center. Okay, slumps down. Yeah. But since we are beginners, we're going to do it horizontally. No, we're going to do it vertically. Okay? So,
Get out of the elbow space.
when I do it vertically, I usually sit down. So I usually sit down. So if you miss the center, you can always move it. There you are. Then you can, again, I don't have my blades. Disconnect this. Put a smaller flame. Fix this part here. Now there is a cold connection here. So it would be better to put it into the annealer directly, but this is just a demo. And I actually put the foot off center.
We call that character, right?
No. We call that mistake. Okay? So it's off center here too, but it doesn't matter. But again, it's not an artistic piece, but this was just a lesson demo. So you get to see how to do various things, okay? And there you are, okay? Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
Hey guys.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you. And she's in Corning. If you need any instruction, go there and come to the studio and take classes.